welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
And I'm Miguel, guys.
And this is our full review of the Snyder Cut. It has finally arrived. I'm sure everybody's gotten a chance to see it by now. And it definitely met expectations. I think, for most people, it met the expectations and the hype of what it was being built up to. So, Miguel, how the hell you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. How was your weekend?
Good weekend. You were there for some of it.
Yeah, I was.
You were there for some of it. All right, so if you're wanting our full Snyder Cut review, check in the description. I have the exact minute and the timestamp of where we will begin that talk. But as you all know, we like to start our show out, if I can talk, with a little bit of movie news. So some movie news that we got this week. Interesting stuff. Let me get this pulled up here.
We screen sharing again, boys.
We are screen sharing again. It's a new thing. All right, we have some Texas Chainsaw Massacre news, which is pretty interesting and pretty dope, if I may add. This comes to us from Bloody Disgusting. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Fede Alvarez, who is writing and directing the newest sequel, which again is a sequel to the original film, not a reboot, not a remake, nothing like that. Fede Alvarez is producing. I cannot talk today. I don't know what the deal is. I can't talk.
He's had a rough morning, guys.
I have. I don't know why. I'm losing it. He's producing a feature film that is bringing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series back. It is a direct sequel to the original, and he confirmed that and also said that we are going to get Old Man Leatherface, which is really, really cool. We've already gotten Old Man Michael Myers in Halloween 2018, and we'll continue that in Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. But this is interesting because it's a much different setting. It's a much different character. I'm really curious to see how they do Old Man Leatherface and how that's going to change his character. Fede was on the Boo Crew podcast, which if you guys haven't checked out the Boo Crew podcast for Bloody Disgusting, it's dope. You definitely should. What do you think of the Old Man Leatherface deal, Miguel?
Well, I mean, what is Leatherface? He's like, last time I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface was just like a grown man, but a child at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's like a child in a grown man's body, and
So like, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna like act like a teenager in this one?
I don't.
Is that how?
That's what I'm really curious to see, because I mean, all of his family would be. I mean, they would have died from old age by then. You know what I mean? So I assume this is just him alone. And, in the original one, they kind of cared for him, and he was, not cared for him because they were awful to him. You kind of feel bad for him in the original because of how terrible his hick family treated him. But I don't know. I'm curious to see. I mean, you're talking almost 60 years after the events of the first one, and he was probably in his 20s, I would assume, in the first film. I mean, he's been taking care of himself all this time. He's been alone. So I'm curious to see like how that changes his character and how that changes his weird, screwed up mind. The other thing that Fede Alvarez said that I found really interesting was that everything is classic old school gags. A lot of the approach that we had with Evil Dead was to never use VFX, to do everything on camera. It's a very old school approach to filmmaking. Vintage lenses, it's very similar to the original film, which is awesome because, I mean, if anybody who has seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that is the ambiance and the atmosphere in that movie is really weird. And even if you look at the color grading, I mean, obviously, because of the story and because of what it is and where it's set, it's got that hick, out in the middle of nowhere, weird vibe to it, where everything is just kind of like strange and unsettling. But I don't know. Even in the color grading and the tone of every shot, it's got this orangish brown. It looks very vintage, like he said. So I'm excited to see that they're going to bring back that vintage look to it.
Yeah, same. And also, like, I was low-key scared of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was like one of the ones that actually kind of freaked me out because, I mean, he is a deranged little guy with a chainsaw. And
absolutely,
that's someone you want to get out of your way. Like if you saw him like out on the street, yeah, that's someone you either want to put down or get the hell out of his way. And that poster right there I'm looking at, that is scary as hell.
Yeah,
I'm not
this
gonna
is
lie.
the official poster we got a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, a few months ago. And it's got the caption at the bottom. In 1974, the world witnessed one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history. In 2021, the face of madness returns. As far as I've seen, this is not going to get pushed. I don't know what they have filmed. I haven't really taken that deep of a dive into it yet, but it's interesting. And if you notice, do you see right here on his chin?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
The original.
I noticed that. I thought that was pretty dope.
I think that's really cool. Have you noticed anything else on this poster? I don't see anything other than
No,
that.
I didn't really see anything else. I think it was that one. But the other thing, also coming to us from Bloody Disgusting, that I found really interesting, is that they are bringing back Sally, who was the final girl in the original film. Of course, the last time we saw her was she escapes that disgusting dinner table scene and runs out of the house, and she gets in the back of the truck, and she's driving away while Leatherface is just kind of screaming and in anger and frustration and what his just fit of rage in the street, and it cuts to black, which is a gorgeous shot. Have you ever seen the original film?
I don't remember it honestly, but I do remember that scene.
Yeah, that it's an amazing ending scene because it just kind of stops. Like it's this like wild and crazy moment, and then it just cuts to black and it's over. But this is, and I am going to say her name wrong. Olwen Fauere. I don't know.
It sounds French.
I apologize. I have seen her before. She seems like a great actress. But again, they've never brought back Sally, who was in the original film, the original final girl. I'm very curious to see how they bring her character back, because this isn't like a I don't think they would take the Michael Myers route where he's going to go after her like they did in some of the later Halloween sequels. He just lives out in the middle of nowhere in Texas, and that was like just happenstance that she ran into him. So I mean, you got to think, if you're Sally and you're an old woman now and you survived this god awful terrible crime, you're not going to go back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for her to go back, but I don't know.
I'm curious to see how they meet up. Like what I don't know. Like how does the two of them come back into contact with each other? But yeah, Marilyn Burns, who played Sally in the original film, she passed away back in 2014. But we had Texas Chainsaw 3D, and this article brings that up, which was another direct sequel to the original. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was kind of cool. It was there was like the whole weird "do your thing, cuz" moment at the end. Like it was kind of strange. It didn't feel as serious as the original one, but it was fun. I mean, it was fun just to see that on screen again. But again, this article says,
did you see it in 3D?
I did. I actually saw it with Chris and my dad in 3D. We went and saw it.
I mean, did the 3D like enhance anything, or was it just like
Not really. It was cheap 3D.
Yeah,
it was not. It didn't really add to. It didn't add to the whole story. You'll think this is funny. When the studio was originally going to do Rob Zombie's Halloween 3, before they rebooted it and sold the rights to Blumhouse, they were going to do Halloween 3D. That would have been the worst. You want to talk about H2 being bad? No thanks.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like much of an interest to me. I don't know. 3D movies just aren't my thing. Yeah. And plus, if anyone does 3D, it's like, I don't know. You got to make the whole movie like directed towards 3D, and that could take away from the story itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 3D, and that's a really creepy shot right there.
Yeah. So this is who
she tied to hands.
She is tied to like the chair, and the arm of the chair is her hands. It's a disgusting scene. Like I will say the remakes from 2003 and 2006, I believe. The reboot, it's one of the better reboots of a horror franchise from the 2000s. I think it's probably the best of the remakes, But I'm very excited, even the article we just talked about, to see that old vintage style. They're bringing back the same camera angles, the same vibe, and the fact that we're getting Sally back. I thought that was really interesting, and I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to see. I like these new reboots of these old horror movies, and they're actually like bringing old cast, because let's be honest, like back in the I guess it was like the early 90s or so, like when these horror movies were like dropping and they were just like, hey, we got to make another sequel. Bang, bang, boom. They were just really cheap. Let's be honest.
Well, and not only that, but honestly, I've only seen bits and pieces of the TCM sequels because they're not serious. It was like horror comedy. The original was very serious and very gritty and very dark. And then like part 2 and part 3, I mean, it was stupid. It was literally to be funny. Like that was the point. So yeah. I'm excited to see like a really serious take on the original. But all right, moving on. Ace Ventura 3 is in development at Amazon, which I think is awesome. I loved Ace Ventura as a kid. It was one of my favorite movies. And I mean, Jim Carrey, you
listen, a lot of people, honestly, but a lot of people, like, you either gotta love Jim Carrey or you just absolutely hate him. I've met plenty of people that are like, oh, his comedy just isn't that. It's just kooky. But if you like kooky, Jim Carrey's your guy. I mean, look at the fucking repertoire this man has. The Cable Guy, The Mask, Ace Ventura, and just a whole plethora of others. And like, he did a decent job in Sonic. I'm not gonna lie. I had such low standards when I saw him. Yeah, but he actually did pretty well in that movie. He was pretty funny in that movie. So I would love to see what he thinks, what more idiotic things he can think of. And Ace Ventura 3, because they did another Ace Ventura movie where it was like
part 2.
No, it was like the son. It was like a third installment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sucked.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, so I'm pretty interested to see how this plays out. I don't know.
I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah, nobody does. I just came upon it on Netflix, so
right.
We'll just leave it at that.
But this article is from comicbook.com. Here's what it had to say. Ace Ventura 3 is reportedly in development as Amazon Prime Video. Interesting that Amazon is doing this, similar to how Amazon did the Coming to America sequel, which I still have not watched, and I really want to watch it.
It is blowing up, man. It is apparently really good. It's smashing a lot of ticket sales, or subscription sales, whatever the hell however the hell they measure those now, because streaming movies that come out, like release dates, like it's hard to it's hard for me to know how they're doing, because usually you can tell by the box office, but this is just by streams, so it's kind of hard. But nevertheless, Coming to America 2 is apparently doing fantastic.
That's good,
and that just means Amazon Prime is gonna start kicking out all these other comedies, and I'm all for it.
Yep, absolutely. Interesting that you had brought up Sonic, because Pat Casey and Josh Miller, who wrote Sonic, are writing the third Ace Ventura film. And here is what Morgan Creek had to say in a statement. We're pretty excited about our franchise developments with the Exorcist and Ace Ventura franchise. I didn't even know they were the ones doing the Exorcist reboot. But she said, during COVID, audiences have been in love and are thrilled to have beloved characters brought back with new stories. Ace Ventura will see a new day at Amazon as a major motion picture theatrical with the Sonic the Hedgehog writers. So it will be at Amazon. Do you think, after reading that, do you think it'll get a theatrical release? Or is this just going to be on Amazon?
I mean, it might. I mean, if they have goals to get it at their actual release, I did not say that right. If they have goals to put in theaters, by all means, go for it. Because whenever this movie comes out, what are they talking about? 2021 or 2022?
I believe this year.
Okay, well, I mean, movie theaters are going to start coming out more, so I mean, I'm all for it. By the way, go up. Look at that picture, though, man. That's a beautiful mural. Like, I'm gonna get that framed in my room.
Right. You want to get that hanging on the wall above your bed?
Yes, absolutely.
You want that staring 100%. At you all day?
Absolutely.
That's what you want staring at you.
Jeez. I can't see eyes, so it's not gonna freak me out.
But even just like you said, interest in Ace Ventura and a lot of other 80s and 90s comedy. Whoa.
And in your
comedy
tracks.
films have surged in the last few years, especially in 2020, where new content was thin. I think, as I got to sip my water before I choke on my own tongue. That kind of sums it up. Even with Coming to America, I think people were going back and watching all these old films, and the studios are realizing that they're still profitable. That's why we're seeing another Texas Chainsaw reboot. That's why we're seeing this HBO Last of Us adaptation, which we're getting ready to talk about. That's why we're seeing the increase in Marvel and Star Wars TV shows. I think they're finding new ways to go back and tell these stories. That's not just another theatrical release, because they have to spend a ton more money to get it as a theatrical release. I know they have to pay Amazon and HBO and Peacock and all these other things that they're putting these TV shows and movies on. But I still don't think, it has to be, the studio must be saving a little bit of money than if they had to sell it to the big theater chains, so.
I agree. And hopefully whenever this movie comes out, it just continues to push a narrative that most of these like hidden gems they need to come out. Again, I have my hot take on like reboots, as we've discussed in one of our other podcasts. But I don't know. Ace Ventura just has a special place in my heart, so I'm all for it. If they want to keep shooting out those movies, and if Jim Carrey is young, if he's young enough and willing to put out more material, by all means. Because Jim Carrey went from like this goofy kind of guy to a real manifesting wizard. You know how he's gotten recently, very ground to earth. So but whenever that was happening, and then he did Sonic the Hedgehog, and then he knocked that out of the park. Hell, he could do it all. He could flip the switch anytime he wants. So I want to see him flip the switch in this movie.
Yeah, and even at the bottom of this article from comicbook.com, it says, more to the point, Amazon Studios is quickly seeing the value in investing in nostalgic sequels. And it goes on to talk about Coming to America, and now that they're bringing back Ace Ventura, it's a big deal, and they know that they're going to profit off of it, and they know that people are going to want to see it. So it's a win for everybody. So
I'd say so, yeah.
But moving on, a little bit of news about The Last of Us, which I've been very excited for any news about this. I loved both of those games. And I'm very excited to see that they're adapting this, because it's very adaptable. And I thought that from the minute I finished the first game. I was like, this needs to be a movie or a TV show, because it's that good. The story is so easily adaptable to, to meet this format. And here's what this news is. The Last of Us on HBO will directly lift dialogue from the original game, says executive producer Neil Druckmann, who also created the game. But we'll see some episodes deviate greatly from the events we played previously. The article goes on, and Neil Druckmann says that we talked at length that season 1 of the show is going to be the first game. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a minute. That's interesting to me, because first game is a lot of content, and it covers a lot of ground. So, the first thing that pops into my head is, how many episodes is it going to be? Because I think you need more than 6 episodes or so to tell that story. That's a big story to tell in one season.
You see how some episodes on Netflix are. Some are like 10 or 11, maybe even 12 episodes.
Right.
And with 12 episodes, I'm sure they could tell the story. But it's just, what are they going to do? They're just going to make 2 seasons then? If that's the case, then by all means,
I have no idea. A limited series then.
Yeah. If it is, then hopefully they don't crunch it all up, because I hate that. I hate it when they put themselves in a box and they got to crunch all of these little things that happens. Because guys, I haven't played Last of Us, but I could probably tell I could tell if they're trying to scrunch things into one season, because it'll feel rushed.
Right.
Because we as a movie goers don't like to feel rushed into these scenarios. We want the thing to play out.
We're getting ready to talk about it. Joss Whedon's Justice League versus Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Duh. But Neil Druckmann and the guy doing the TV show said that the philosophical underpinnings of the story were the essential thing to get right about the adaptation. As far as the superficial things, like should a character wear the same plaid shirt or the same red shirt, they may not appear in it, and that's way less important than getting the core of who these people are and the core of their journey. And I mean, obviously, Neil Druckmann's a storyteller, man. That game is such a great story. I I think that they're really going to focus on the journey of what Joel and Ellie went through. So I'm very, very excited for this adaptation. And he goes on to say, for example, in the game, there's so much action you have to train. You have to train the player about mechanics. You have to have more violence and more spectacle to some degree than you would need on a TV show because you don't need to train people how to use a gun. So that's something that's been really different. And HBO's been great in pushing us to move away from hardcore action and focus more on the drama of the character. Some of my favorite episodes so far have deviated greatly from the story, and I can't wait for people to see them.
Okay.
Now, I'm excited by this, but at the same time, it's still the zombie apocalypse. You still have to. There has to be some action and some gory shit going on in it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, even look at the clickers. Druckmann goes on to say at the bottom, he just saw the first prosthetic test for the clicker, and it's awesome. It's so rad to see this thing come to physical life. Have you seen the clickers in that game?
I haven't.
They're terrifying. And it makes me excited to see that they're using prosthetics. So that tells me that there will be an element of, of horror, and of action to it. Because it's going back to what Neil said at the top. Yes, you have to have more. But I hope that they don't bleed the game of all of the action and all of the suspense and the drama and the horror aspects, because that was one of the strongest aspects about it. It's rare to find a game that's genuinely scary and that genuinely freaks you out at times. And The Last of Us was an example of a game that genuinely freaks you out at times. It catches you off guard. You don't know what's around the corner. It makes you think about your next move. And that was what made it so unique. That's what made it so fantastic to begin with. So I'm very excited to see this adaptation come to life.
I'm gonna have to play this game. Sounds like
you do need to play this game. You would love this game. I'm trying to get my dad to play it. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal.
Well, if I ever have 12 hours of my day free, I'll play it.
Right. Or you'll do what you do best, and you'll watch the full run through on YouTube.
Yep, I don't know I did that. Yep.
You'll just watch the story.
That's all I'm there for.
Yeah. Next little bit of news, we have some Black Widow news, and this kind of ties in to some Venom news, which is interesting. Did you see that Venom got pushed to September 17th?
I did.
Well, interesting enough, Venom put on that thing on the announcement that it was being pushed to September 17th. It said only in theaters, and it was the same exact thing that the Spider-Man No Way Home poster had on there. I think they're really pushing anything to do with this Spider-Verse. They want people to know that this is only going to be in the theaters. And I think that's part of Disney's push to get people back in the movie theaters, because they know that people are going to want to go see this this new Spider-Verse idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are going to want to go see it in a movie theater. But interestingly, Black Widow, this article talking to comicbook.com and The Hollywood Reporter, talking to Disney CEO Bob Chapek, he had said, our situation and our conditions change. Just a few weeks ago, theaters in New York and Los Angeles weren't even open. Now, all of a sudden, they're open. So we're waiting to see how prospective theater goers respond to these reopenings. We're going to remain flexible. We'll make the call probably at the last minute in terms of how these films come to market, whether it's Black Widow or any other title. So originally, Disney had said, we are going to get Black Widow in the theater. It's going to be in the theaters only. Now they kind of seem like they're unsure, like they don't really know, which is kind of strange because I think more movie theaters are open now than were then. So like, why this change of heart and why this change of being unsure in releasing it in theaters? I'm not sure. And it's kind of interesting that, for Spider-Man No Way Home and for Venom, I know it's two different, Black Widow's coming out halfway in the year when Spider-Man and Venom are coming out in the last half, but or towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But it's two very stark, only in theaters, or like we're still unsure, we don't really know what we're gonna do. So I'm what do you think they're thinking? Like, why do they seem so unsure about releasing Black Widow in theaters?
I mean, it's probably because of the pandemic, obviously, because
well, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what I can tell you, but people are still like kind of hesitant about wanting to go to the movie still. And honestly, have you been like keeping track of the news recently about people going to the movie theaters?
Mm-mm.
Like, people aren't really all that ecstatic from like the initial opening of these movie theaters. Like, they'll interview some people and they'll be like, yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was fun. Like, there's no enthusiasm. Yeah, exactly. Like you and me. Yeah, exactly. If you were me, were ever interviewed, boy, I would be blowing up the airwaves with my enthusiasm. Like, I'd be like, hell yeah, this is awesome. But I guess some people don't. I guess the people they interviewed at that time, they were like, yeah, it was fun. Like, no, man, you've been in your house for like fucking a whole ass year, or like you've been like stuck or like kept away from all these things for like a whole year, and now you have opportunity to do these things, and yet you're all excited. No, get out of here. You clearly don't care.
Yeah.
Interview us when we go see Kong. I promise you.
Right.
You'll get some good content, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
So
but I thought those were some interesting tidbits of news, but I wanted to talk about Resident Evil briefly because it's been revealed by writer-director Johannes Roberts that the official title of the Resident Evil reboot is Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Boom.
Your thoughts?
What? I guess it's gonna be in Raccoon City, I guess. I don't know what the fuck to tell you.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be at the mansion because he also said the other day that, to quote Johannes Roberts, the mansion as scary as fuck.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be like half of it's gonna be at the mansion, and half of it's gonna be at Raccoon City.
And we talked about that last episode with this reboot. At what point? Because there is a little bit of time in between the mansion incident and what happens in the Arclay Mountains to what happens in Raccoon City and that outbreak when Raccoon City is ultimately destroyed. So is there gonna be a time jump halfway in the movie? Are we gonna see the epilogue or the prologue, basically about the mansion incident, and then the remainder of the movie about the Raccoon City incident? Just like we were talking about with The Last of Us. There's a lot of content and a lot of story that you got to jam pack in one movie. You know what I mean? That is a lot of characters and a lot of villains and a lot of exposition that you got to shove in an hour and a half, 2 hour slot. That's going to be a big task. And I don't want them to leave out a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Johannesburg, please don't fuck up this movie. I beg of you. Don't scrunch this stuff either. I swear. And we'll riot.
He seems like a genuine fan, and that excites me. But we were talking about that with Mortal Kombat the other day. I think part of the reason that video game adaptations fail is they either go like too extreme on either end. And I feel like you have to find a good balance of like, you stay true to the game, but you also make it your own and you also do something different with it, because I understand that you can't do an exact adaptation of the game. It can't be exactly the same, but you also can't do what Paul W.S. Anderson did with the Resident Evil franchise and just like take it out in left field, because that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't serve any purpose.
It does not. It doesn't serve the story. So I like the title. It makes me think that we were right and that Act 1 will probably take place at the mansion and Act 2 and 3 will probably take place in Raccoon City. But again, my fear is that that's a lot of content, and that's a lot of story that you got to shove into an hour of a movie.
Exactly.
And I've always
much rather.
You're good.
I was gonna say I'd much rather hear Welcome to Raccoon City as like the sequel. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Like it would have been fine with just Resident Evil, and then the sequel would have been Welcome to Raccoon City. That would have made sense to me. That would at least kept me comfortable with the fact that like, okay, they're gonna take their time with this.
Yeah.
People don't fucking take their time with this shit. Oh my god, everyone just wants fucking fan service. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm so sorry. I know we're fans, and like if we want some, I mean, they're gonna give it to us. But then they just like, I don't know. The fans. Oh my god, I love us, but I hate us at the same time because we just want things so quick. But then when they give it to us, it's like rushed and it doesn't look good.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Well, and here's the thing about the Resident Evil reboot. I've always felt like what made the original games, what took place like Raccoon City and before, so interesting is that it's like there's so many different layers. You have everything that happened in the discovery of the virus with the progenitor virus and the T virus. You have everything from the first game with like Bravo team and Alpha team going into the mansion and everything that happened there. You have Birkin in the labs and him trying to sell the virus, and then Umbrella going in and releasing the T virus, which caused the Raccoon City outbreak. I mean, there's just so many things that they have to shove in this movie. And I know they can probably, I'm sure there's a way to do it creatively where you don't have to show every bit of it. You can just explain it. But is it going to be as effective?
I don't know about that. Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you have to show things like that. And because it's so layered, if they can pull that off, I'll be really happy. If they can get the same vibes that you got in the original games, that's what I want. Have you played Resident Evil Outbreak?
I have not played Resident Evil Outbreak.
Dude, it has got one of the best intros to a video game I have ever seen in my entire life. It's creepy. It gives you that layered feeling of like even what's going on in the labs and what's going on in the sewers and what's about to go on in the streets of Raccoon City. It creates a sense of dread that even if you're hiding in that closet, even if you're alone in your bedroom locked with a gun, it's still not going to be enough. It's you are trapped and you are screwed, and it gives you that feeling of creepiness, and that's what I hope that they can bring to this reboot. Is I want it to feel like the original games felt. I think if they can do that, Resident Evil fans are going to be happy.
Yes, let's hope so. I'm not gonna lie.
I definitely hope.
Please don't fuck this up.
Yeah. But all right, we're finally here. This is we're getting into some stuff about the Snyder Cut now, and I wanted to bring this up. I think it's really important, and I think it's really cool. Did you see HBO Go crashed in Asia because of the Snyder Cut releasing?
Did it really?
Yep, it crashed. There were so many people logging on to HBO Go in Asia since like 2 a.m. on Thursday when it opened that it was crashing. There were like 127 outages reported, according to this article from comicbook.com, because of that. And the HBO Asia Twitter account said, "Hi, everyone. We're working hard to restore service. Sorry to keep you waiting, but thank you for your patience." And that goes to show you how big the Snyder Cut was around the world. So many people wanted to see it. So many people wanted to watch it. But something that I thought was interesting came out of this article, and I just highlighted it in blue right there. As for the film itself, Snyder has said that unfortunately, the Joss Whedon cut of the film is probably considered canon for the movie universe, and he understands why fans would be frustrated with that. And Zack Snyder goes on to say, "I understand the frustration. If someone was frustrated by that concept, I wouldn't say don't be frustrated by it. It's fine to be frustrated by it. I'm frustrated by it. So I would only say, though, that there is a the grander, greater concept for the DCEU is on another road, and there's nothing I can do about that. That is just, it is what it is. It's not my decision." I get it.
Bring out the fans. Bring out the fans.
I know, right? Bring them out. Bring them out. I don't know. It sucks that it's not canon because it was so good. It was the best DCEU film, and I think one of the biggest compliments I can give the Snyder Cut. And you know this, when we talked about the DCEU in episode, what was that, 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Somewhere back in there. We are not the biggest fans of the DCEU so far and what they've done with it. I like the DC characters. I just it hasn't hit the mark really. I like both Wonder Woman films fine. But other than that, it was kind of just lukewarm for me. Yeah. But one of the biggest compliments I can give the Snyder Cut is that it restored my faith in the DCEU. And I know it's not canon, just like Zack Snyder said, the Whedon cut is canon. But I don't know. I hope that they do sequels. I hope that we get sequels from this. And just the fact that this was such a big deal. I also wanted to be sure to show this because I thought this was so cool and so important. There were so many directors showing up to congratulate Zack Snyder. The Russo brothers, who obviously directed 2 or 3 MCU films. They directed Captain America, the Winter Soldier. They directed Infinity War and Endgame. They tweeted at Zack Snyder and said, "From 2 superhero junkies to another, so excited that your vision has been truly realized. Much respect. We'll be watching along with everyone else." I think that is freaking awesome, man. This is the kind of shit we need to see.
Little plug for Ryan.
Right. Even Ryan Reynolds, he had said happy St. Patrick's Day and good luck to the Snyder Cut on HBO Max. And he replied to himself and said, maybe it's the aviation gin talking, but Green Lantern with nothing to fear. Hundreds of incredible crew and cast members did amazing work. And while it's not perfect, it ain't a tragedy. Next time, I won't wait a decade to watch. Ryan Reynolds had never seen Green Lantern. His Green Lantern movie. He had never watched it. So he watched that in preparation, even though I know it's not the same universe, for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Matt Reeves, who's of course directing the new Batman reboot that's, I believe, supposed to come out next year. Matt Reeves tweeted at Zack Snyder and said, "What a long, painful, epic journey to this day, my friend, but you did it. So happy your vision is finally being shared with the world. Can't wait to see it." If you look down here, Zack Snyder says to Ryan Reynolds, maybe someday I'll bring over some Hand on Stone bourbon and we'll do a double feature of those two. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. The both of them.
That's pretty funny. But I think it's so amazing, man, to see other filmmakers and actors and Hollywood stars congratulating him. Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg and who got dragged through the mud in that Joss Whedon cut, said, "This is for those that fought. This is for those that believe. This belongs to each and every one of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now let's break the internet." Which, of course, I mean, we know HBO Max crashed. It was a whole big deal. And, you know, it goes on. Zach Penn, a whole bunch of other people just talking about how important the Snyder Cut was and congratulating Zack Snyder in completing it. And I think that is amazing. I think it was beautiful. And it's very well deserved.
With Ray Fisher, like, I could tell that he was now seeing the movie, the Zack Snyder's cut. Like, I could tell why Ray Fisher was all about this movie coming up, because let's be honest, Cyborg was like the heart and soul of this movie.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
100%.
Josh Whedon, like, I love you, man, but you gutted Cyborg throughout the entire
dipped him
movie.
In that movie, man. Cyborg was pointless in the theatrical cut. Pointless. Exactly.
I didn't see why Josh Whedon would want to, like, just cut all that out. It made no sense. Yeah. But now seeing the Zack Snyder cut, like, this guy was the heart and soul of the movie. Even the Flash, I was surprised with how much I actually enjoyed the Flash in this movie. Mm-hmm. That last scene too, which, by the way, like, I don't know, I'll try to be as spoiler free, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, give me a fucking break anyways.
Oh, this is going to be a spoiler review. So when we get into this in a minute, if you have not seen, let's just say this right now. If you have not seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, this is not the review for you. You need to watch it and then come back, because this is going to be crazy spoiler film.
Yeah. So, as I was saying, like, in that last scene with the Flash, and him actually showing the true nature of the Speed Force, that's such a different take of the Speed Force.
Yeah.
Did you not know that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've seen the Flashpoint, I've seen all the other like Flash incarnations of their idea of the Speed Force. This was a whole new thing.
And I like this
It
one the
was
best.
absolutely, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
And like just seeing how he was able to like use the Speed Force to fix that little fuck up that just happened, like it was insane. I love that scene wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I can tell why everyone was excited to see Zack Snyder. I could tell why everyone was pushing for it, because it's an actual decent, it's a really good movie with everything from action, dialogue. The only thing I will mention is the goddamn pacing. But we'll get to that. But like when it came down to actual nitty-gritty action, it slapped.
Yeah.
That like slow-mo shot of all the Justice League jumping into the building, that was badass. It reminded me of the Age of Ultron scene. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely. And I mean, before we get into any of this, I want to be clear that this needs to be said. This is a huge deal for Zack Snyder, and we just talked about that with all the other directors. And I think I speak for you. I think I speak for me, from superhero fans everywhere. Congratulations, Zack Snyder, for getting this thing realized, because this is a really, really big deal, and we want to congratulate you. I know you're probably not watching this, but if you are, we want to congratulate you on bringing your vision to life. And sir, you have made your daughter very proud. She is looking down, and she is very proud right now. So I hats off to you, man. It was great.
Hats off. You're gonna make me sound like a dick now that I'm gonna mention all these other stuff.
No. I mean, it's all subjective, man. I mean, it's nothing. I kind of had this. I had this in parts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I basically made notes as I watched, because it was easier for me to process. But what were you going?
I was gonna say, like, the movie itself was fantastic. One of the best superhero movies I've seen in a while. Because obviously it's been a while since we've had any. And the only thing I can say is that it did not need to be 4 hours. You know what I mean?
I kind of disagree with you, actually, and I'm shocked that I do, but I do.
Well, I don't know. Like the first half, I mean, I told you I saw it first before Brad did, and I texted him a warning. I said, "Hey, listen, man, I know you're going into this movie with like low expectations. Just want to let you know the first half is slow as hell." And I just said, just wait it out. As soon as the half mark hits, you'll start seeing the gears start turning. And it did. I'll admit, I don't know what part it was, but like it was like at one point it just like kicked off, and it was like all full deck. Like they were just going full steam ahead. And but like the first half of it, it just seemed really slow. And it was mainly dialogue, which was cool and everything. I mean, we got to see character development. The first half was all about character development, like letting you know about of Cyborg, Flash, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman to a certain degree. I mean, here he got his own solo movie, but they all got their own like perspectives and how this team is gonna be, or how they feel about the team. And it was cool and everything. Yo, also they made Darkseid a little bitch in the first half. Did you see that?
Darkseid?
Yeah. Like whenever they were talking about the history of him, yeah, he got his ass clapped by all the old G superheroes.
Yeah. It's funny because, starting with part one, my initial thoughts were, holy crap, it looks so much better than the theatrical cut does. The way it looks, the graphics, the CGI, it had a darker cinematic lighting, which I really liked. The lighting was different. It was more shadow based. It wasn't just like everything was like you could see it all. There were things in shadows, and there were things that you didn't see. The color grading, everything was good. And I also thought, it took me a little bit to warm up to it, but when I started watching it, I thought, what the hell? What? Even Julia said, why is the aspect ratio so weird? It wasn't widescreen, but it wasn't full screen. It was like it looked tall, but that aspect ratio was very much intentional. It was basically what they would use for IMAX, because this was shot as an IMAX movie. And per Zack Snyder, he said, my intent was to have the movie, the entire film, play in a gigantic 1:43 aspect ratio on a giant IMAX screen. Superheroes tend to be as figures. They tend to be less horizontal, maybe Superman when he's flying, but when he's standing, he's more of a vertical. Everything is composed and shot in that way. And a lot of the restoration is sort of trying to put that back, put these big squares back. It's a completely different aesthetic. It's just got a different quality, that, and one that is unusual. No one's doing that. And that shows how much of a unique filmmaker Zack Snyder is, because he's thinking about it like a kid. He's thinking about it, and I don't say that to be rude at all. It's actually really creative. He's thinking about it. If you have a kid and you're playing action figures, you're talking about your different like planes. Mm-hmm. You're not just going to use what's directly in front of you on the ground. That's not going to be your only plane. You're going to use above you. You're going to use the sides. If Batman is jumping off of a scaffold from above you, he's going to fucking come up down. You know what I mean? You're going to see him coming down on you. If you have Superman flying, he'll be horizontal. He'll come into the frame, close up shot, and then go up. You know what I mean? He thought about this as if they were action figures almost. And I think that's cool. I think that's really creative, and I think that's really cool. And once I kind of had that in my mind, and once I realized how much you're seeing, because it's almost, you're seeing less side to side and seeing more top to bottom. So it's like a larger shot, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Yeah. I was wondering why they did that with in the beginning, because you know how it made that statement, and I mean, I couldn't tell at first,
right?
But like as I like kept watching, I was like, wow, this is actually like a great shot. And seeing how Zack Snyder played it out and how he like formatted it, I mean, that pretty much made the movie completely different as well. Yeah, like far from Josh Whedon's vision.
Have you seen that they're doing the Justice is Gray cut, where it's going to all be in black and white?
Ooh, that's actually exciting.
Yeah, I kind of want to rewatch it, and I'm excited to rewatch it anyways, because there was so much. I want to go back and see what I picked up from the first time. But still going into talking about part one, seeing Lois and Clark's mom mourning Superman was really cool. I thought that was really creative. I will say, I wish we could have seen a little bit more of Lois Lane. I wish she would have been more of a presence throughout the film. And I know she was in it. I know she had some good exposition, and she had some good moments with Superman once he came back. But we had this whole Lois is the key, and it, like in the moment where we saw the pregnancy test in her drawer and things like that. I feel like we built up a lot with Lois, and it never really paid off. And I know that's partially because Zack Snyder intended this to be a part of the DCEU, and we would have gotten Man of Steel Part 2, or we would have gotten a second Justice League film where they could have explained it. But I wish we could have seen a little bit more of a payoff for Lois's character. What'd you think of Steppenwolf in this movie?
Yo, that design was actually pretty killer.
I thought Steppenwolf was awesome. Yeah. He was way more of a badass than Darkseid in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
He really was.
But I mean, he also got trashed at the end.
Oh yeah,
by the whole entire Justice League. Yeah. So I don't know. It made Darkseid seem even more menacing, because knowing how like badass Steppenwolf was throughout the movie, it's just goes to show like how bad Apocalypse could have been. So I mean, whenever Cyborg was seeing his visions, and just seeing Darkseid like take out the Atlanteans.
Yeah,
like that scene right there was just so dark and so badass to see. Seeing him with his Omega beams and all that. I think he had anti-life at that moment. Yeah, so like just seeing him like with that power, absolutely frightening. Because Darkseid is a really I like Darkseid.
He's a cool villain,
more than I like Thanos. Granted, comic book Thanos is fine. But MCU Thanos did a really good job in presenting him. But Apocalypse, straight off the page, badass villain, just pure evil, pure strength. Just every time you see him, he just has like a presence. It's like, yep, this is Darkseid. He's coming.
And I think Darkseid is I think Darkseid was pretty similar to the comic books as how he was in the Snyder Cut. Thanos was a little bit different. I think Thanos in the comic books did differ from Thanos in the MCU, and that's fine. I loved Thanos in the MCU. I thought it was great. But yeah, I thought Steppenwolf's design was great. I think his intro was badass when he's in there with all of the Amazonians, the Amazons. And it was a really, really cool introduction to his character. And then going into part 2, it felt like Ben Affleck and all of the characters were so much more invested. I don't know exactly how much they went back and reshot for this.
Dude, it looks like they reshot an entirely different movie. Let's be honest.
It really does.
So they probably were tired when they made the Josh Whedon cut.
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest. Ben Affleck played Batman. He played Batman in that movie.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing about Ben Affleck. I have never, like, if you would have asked me before I saw the Snyder Cut who was my favorite Batman, I would be like, oh, Christian Bale, duh. I was never a fan of Batfleck, ever. I was like, I think for a while I thought he was the worst Batman. But again, it goes to show you how much shit that they cut out in that Joss Whedon cut, because he became one of my favorite Batmans in this. He was dark, he was serious, he was gritty. It never showed him. And that, again, I was talking about like the shadowy, darker lighting. It doesn't completely show Batman in a lot of scenes. And I thought that was really creative. I thought that was really cool.
It was those scenes where he wasn't there, but like he was there. Like,
yeah, you just felt his presence almost.
Exactly.
And that's what Batman should be, man.
Yeah, whenever he was overwatching the break-in into the little laboratory, like that was a baller scene when he was just like overwatching everything. Like that was a pure Batman atmosphere. And then whenever he met Commissioner Gordon, like just seeing him on top of that gargoyle, my God.
I know, man.
Baller.
And I don't know.
Baller shots.
I know we got that same scene in the Whedon cut too, but it wasn't the same. Something about it. It was the lighting, it was the color grading. Something was different. And the other thing is that his character felt so much more serious in this film than in the theatrical cut.
Yes.
I mean, in the theatrical cut, he was cracking like crappy jokes. And I was just like, this isn't Batman. Like, I feel like it's not like Walmart brand Batman. That's what exactly it felt like.
I was going to mention that is the fact that there are so many like kooky one-liners that was entered into the theatrical cut. Zack Snyder cut all that shit out.
It takes you out of the movie.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem to be like it's not necessary. It's like whenever Superman came back in the Josh Whedon, and then Superman was like, "I know you didn't bring me back because you didn't like me," and that scene, Batman was like, "I didn't say I'd not like you." I was like, "That's not necessary." I didn't laugh at that. It was just not supposed to be there. They cut that out. They cut out a lot of it. A lot of those one-liners that there was like, we saw in the trailers and all that. He just like Zack Snyder wanted this to be serious, like a serious movie.
And that's another compliment I have is the movie feels serious. It feels like there's stuff at stake here. And that was one of my complaints with the theatrical cut. The first time I've only ever seen the theatrical cut one time, and I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. It wasn't good. But it seemed so much more serious. It took itself seriously, and even with Batman, you can't have Bruce Wayne, who is seriously, he's arguably the main character of the film, and he's trying to bring together this people because he knows there's a threat and he knows that they're all in danger. And then you have the same character in the same scene and he's like, oh, I never said I didn't like you. I like you. Like, it's just like, what? Like, you can't be like serious and like, we're all gonna die, and then in the next scene it's just like like it doesn't make any sense. You just can't do that.
I agree. And just again, the atmosphere of this movie was by far different, and like I I just like the way these characters felt more invested in it. Obviously, it's because this is like the initial first take of these characters, of these actors playing these characters. And when it came to like Flash and Cyborg, like those characters, I could care less about them in the Justice League. And I could honestly care, like, I cared more about Wonder Woman and Batman than any of the other ones. But in this movie, I cared more about Cyborg and Flash than I did about Wonder Woman.
It completely rearranged and changed my idea of the DC EU and of DC characters. You know, again, I've never been a Superman fan. I don't know. I can't even articulate why. I've just never been a Superman fan. In this movie, I was a Superman fan. When he showed up at the end, when they were fighting Steppenwolf for the last time, I was like, here we go. We got him. The gang's all here. And I was hyped. Cyborg. Good Lord, man. Cyborg, like you said, Cyborg and Flash were the heart of this movie. Like, I rooted for them so hardcore throughout the whole thing. Even Aquaman. I thought Aquaman was dope in this movie.
He did a decent job. But like, it wasn't like his movie. Like it wasn't focused on him because we already have a solo movie with him. So like,
he's already been established. You don't need to go he's just
any further. Yeah.
It's so, like, fine seeing Aquaman being Aquaman and having his weird drunk, I'm a cool guy personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, this movie was supposed to be for the Flash and Cyborg because this was like their introduction. We needed to know about these characters because we already know about Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and Aquaman. We already know everything about them.
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be mainly focused on those two. And honestly, Zack Snyder did a pretty bang up job on it. Really I still kind of don't like the Cyborg CGI stuff, but I know he'll get an upgrade and he'll look more bulky. He just looks a little bit skinny, a little thin. You know what I mean? But I'm sure that'll change over time.
Really, about the hour mark, I did think it was slow at the beginning, and I was like, crap, man, I'm gonna be disappointed in this, and I really don't want to be. But at the hour mark, I really got into it, and I was like, okay, never mind. Like, this is, and it was also that first act was a little bit. It was a lot of the same footage we had already seen, like Aquaman in the dock when he breaks the bottle and he jumped. It, like, we had seen all of that before, so I was like, okay, it's nothing really new. But when we got into Diana and Bruce and her explanation of Darkseid and
that's when it started
and
changing.
Steppenwolf, that whole fight when she explained about all of the Amazons and the Atlanteans all fighting them. That was a badass fight scene, and it was really, really well done. It was gory. There was some gore in it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of people get cut in half.
I thought it was really cool. There was a really neat Green Lantern moment, which I thought was pretty cool. I was happy to see a Green Lantern moment in there.
I was too, and hopefully that scene right there, like, kind of like plants a seed to the DCU to bring Green Lantern back. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, if you want to bring Ryan Reynolds, that's fine. He does okay. Just that script was terrible. But
well, you know, at one point, Zack Snyder had told the Hollywood Reporter that he said there was another idea I had for Green Lantern that wasn't Ryan. However, I thought that if we had gone down this path with Green Lantern, I would have had to have Ryan as the additional one, but that's another story. So in one draft, he was going to put Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern in this, which whatever.
It would have saved that movie.
It would have been fine.
Yeah.
But that whole flashback was great. I thought that was really, 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 really well done. It was one of my favorite parts of the entire film. And then in part 3, which was Barry's introduction, I thought his opening scene with the car accident, seeing him as the Flash was really, really cool. I love how geeky he is, and just like the thing about the comedy in this is that the comedy wasn't out of place. It was done well. He was funny and he was geeky and he was nerdy, but it was done right. He still had serious scenes, and his character had a greater arc throughout the entire movie. It wasn't just like random jokes to get thrown in. You know what I mean? It felt weird in the theatrical cut.
Like, you can tell whenever, like, in the theatrical cut of this movie, you could tell whenever Batman meets the Flash, you could
Mm-hmm.
tell where the original movie was there, and then the Josh Whedon cut was in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You could tell. You could tell by the different. You can tell where the reshoots were. That's the best way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could tell where they were. And this one, like, it didn't seem like very cutty. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like switching things up every now and then.
You
You
couldn't
couldn't
tell.
tell because
You
it
could
was a
not tell.
true film. And I don't know, the comedy in that movie, like the little silly one-liners,
Yeah.
they weren't as like kooky, but they were meant to be there, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I agree with the whole, when it came down to the whole one-liners and stuff and the jokes, like those were supposed to be there. They weren't just added on later.
Yeah. Well, even you know what other scene I really liked was when we were getting Cyborg's backstory, and we were learning more about him and learning more about what happened with him. Which again, I don't know why Joss Whedon ever cut any of that out, because it made me care about him so much more
Mm-hmm.
than in the theatrical cut. But the scene when he was playing football in the snow, that looked amazing. And another thing that was very visually appealing about this movie is that even in the football scene and a lot of the action scenes, in the flashback scene with Darkseid and Diana's explanation of him, during crazy action scenes, they did this thing where they would go from live action to slow-mo and then to live action and then go back to slow-mo again. And that was really creative.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
The only thing I don't like about that is that there was a lot of slow-mos. When
There
the
were.
slow-mos happen, they were great, and when it works, it works. But then whenever you have someone just like slow-mo standing there, you know what I'm talking about with the cop? It was like a slow-mo of
Oh.
him just like standing and staring. Yeah, that wasn't necessary. It was during the time of that slow part of the movie, and that just made it feel really slow. At that, like, I'm pretty sure the two of us can agree. Like at that part, whenever the slow motion would happen, it was just like, come on, man. I get why this is 4 hours, but whenever the movie picks up and then the slow mos happens, it makes it even way cooler. Like I
I
said,
didn't mind it.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I fell asleep in that first half. I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I woke up and I was like, damn it, I gotta go back. But then whenever it picked up, I was like, okay, now I'm like in the seat watching the movie.
Yeah.
And like so when it came out to like the whole like area when they're trying to get into the building with all the Justice League, that was a badass scene. I love seeing all that action. Like all of that was great. And again, when it came to that last scene of all them jumping into that building, it was killer. That's a money shot right there.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you know, even at the end of the third part, when Barry and Bruce meet up, and I love it when they're getting into Bruce's car, and Barry says, "What are your superpowers again?" And Bruce goes, "I'm rich."
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
yep, that's what it is.
That was in the Josh Whedon cut, but again, it made sense because the atmosphere was there.
Yeah, it was fine. J.K. Simmons is fantastic in any role. You could put that man in a duck outfit and he would still make it good. And then obviously seeing Aquaman versus Steppenwolf was dope too. That was pretty cool. And again, that paid off because Aquaman was the one who really killed Steppenwolf at the end. Other than, I mean, I guess technically they all did because Aquaman stabbed him and then Superman punched him and Wonder Woman decapitated him, which was
that scene alone right there. Whenever Apocalypse caught Steppenwolf's head and was just like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, just that stare down was just so eager. Like we can look, whoever played, I don't know who played Apocalypse, but yo, the CGI of Apocalypse was absolutely phenomenal. It was dark, gritty. You could tell like they're in a different world and everything. Like in the dialogue he had in that movie, like whenever he was like talking to his followers, like that was some shit.
Are you talking about Darkseid?
Darkseid, yeah. Did I say Apocalypse?
Yeah, I actually did that too at one point because I'm thinking like X-Men.
Yeah,
okay. I don't know why.
Sorry.
It just
I'm sorry, guys.
They look similar. I think that's partially why.
Probably, but okay. When it came to Darkseid and talking about all of that, like you could tell like how absolutely like menacing this guy is. And whenever he made that like declaration of like, now that I know where the anti-life is, like we will stop at nothing. Like when I saw that, I was like, good God, like if there's a next movie coming, like it's gonna be bloody.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be good. Part 4, again, just Batman is so much better. The lighting when Cyborg and the Flash and Wonder Woman and Batman are on top of the building with Gordon, I thought that looked amazing. The fight scene in the was it the sewers or what was it exactly?
It's
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
wherever they were underneath of Gotham Harbor, when they're fighting Steppenwolf, I thought it was incredible when Aquaman showed up, when the Flash was, when Diana was falling and the Flash was running around the walls to like catch her, and Batman was fighting Steppenwolf. Like that scene, that was the first time I was like, wow. Like that was the first time I think I was really like, holy shit, this is good. Like there's something really special here. And then of course going into part 5, I like the twist that Cyborg's power came from the mother box. I thought that was really, really cool. And I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was very creative and very different. All the emotional dialogue between Lois and Martha. I thought it was a really cool twist that the mother boxes didn't call to Steppenwolf purposely until Superman died.
Yeah.
Because they were afraid of Superman. I thought that was really, 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 really cool. The whole build up to Superman coming back, I thought that was the build up was perfect. Do you think that Lois is pregnant with their child?
No, that's Bruce's baby. No, I'm kidding.
I doubtful, but
it is a theory. I'm sure there's a theory running around over there about it. But I mean, that's obviously that could be the case, because in an Injustice storyline, that's how Superman became the villains, because the Joker tricked him into thinking Lois Lane was Doomsday. So Superman fought Lois Lane as if she was Doomsday, and that doesn't play out well while she was pregnant. Like, yeah. So not only does he kill,
familiar with that. Oh,
yeah. So it's really bad.
So that's what the epilogue was talking about then.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why. Okay.
So like there's so again in that epilogue, again, I don't think it was really necessary, but I'm pretty sure they were talking about like that. I think that's probably what happened. Like, I think there
was a lot in like a 5-minute span. Like, if you really like break down all the dialogue, I actually went back at the point when Bruce wakes up. I went back and rewatched that apocalypse scene, because I was like, there was a lot that just happened and I didn't process everything. But that makes sense now that you say that. That's dark.
I think it's interesting how the Joker knew. You know what I mean? The Joker knew that Batman and the Flash were like trying to create different timelines, and they fucked up like 2 or 3 times. Like, they've messed up a lot. So it's interesting to know that they Batman has tried time and time again to prevent this. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting the way they played it out. It's like saying, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you do, like, it's like the theory of you throw a rock into a puddle, like the water's just gonna go around the rock and time is gonna continue playing the same way it was gonna be. It'll always self-correct itself. It's a fucking sad thing to like see. And they pretty much presented it. And obviously, it was great to have the Joker say that, because the Joker is such a cynic. So he's like, hey, Bat, look, no matter what you're going to do, this is going to happen. And you got to admit that it's your fault. Like, you're the reason why this happens. Yeah. And that gives Batman so much more weight, because it goes all the way back to Batman versus Superman, because he wanted to kill Superman. And that led to all of this happening. And now he's trying to rectify that. And also that small little dialogue he had with Joker and the Batman when they were talking about like Robin and Harley Quinn, that was dark. I wish we got to see that.
We're gonna get there. I'm pretty excited about that. I love the confused Superman scene. I know we've already seen that. I had fun watching it a second time. I thought it was cool. And then Victor's father, I thought it was very honorable.
That one-liner, I'm sorry. There was a one-liner in that scene too.
That they took out, yeah. Well, when Superman says to Batman, "Do you bleed?" and it's like, he doesn't remember him. He doesn't remember Batman saying that to him.
Exactly.
So like, why if the whole point of this scene is that Superman doesn't know who they are and he doesn't remember anything before he like was resurrected, then why would you have him say something that would imply that he remembers who Batman is? Like it doesn't even make any sense. And I remember seeing that Zack Snyder actually said that they were like, why did you take that line out? And because he was like, it doesn't make any sense. There was no reason for that line to be in there, you know? But I thought it was very cool that Cyborg's dad superheated the box purposely so that they'd be able to find it. That was really cool. And then obviously in part 6, in this final part, everybody meeting Alfred was hilarious. When Aquaman walked by Alfred and they were in the Batcave, and Aquaman was like, shit's badass, Alfred. Just like, I thought it was really cool. And then their dialogue talking about like, you know, they'll be fighting if they really do this and they really go through with this plan to stop Steppenwolf, they'll be fighting the devil and his demons in hell. And you know, Bruce saying that he doesn't care how many demons he fought and how many hells, he's never fought us united. I thought that was amazing. The reunion scene with Superman with Lois and Martha in the cornfield was really, really well done. What do you think of black suited Superman?
I thought that was killer.
I thought that was awesome.
Like, I wanted to see a black suited Superman, and I don't know, it was just the way they presented Superman to, like, you know, I guess regaining his like view of the world, because I guess he was like still like not able to remember anything. How it brought back not only I think it's Jor-El, like his father, and then his stepfather or his like adopted father from what's his name? I had his name. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes,
His
I know who you're
father.
I don't remember his
when they had both of them talking to each other, talking to Superman, I thought that was beautiful because not only is he remembering where he's from, but he's also remembering where he was raised, and it just keeps solidifying. So like it made Superman more important than in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
So like it like, so whenever I saw him like, you know, swooping up to the outside and gaining his powers from the sun, you know, that's where he gets his powers, right, from the sun. So like he's just seeing that just like set the tone for how important Superman is. Absolutely. And even though he wasn't like the main character,
no, not
but
at
you
all.
can tell he was like, he's an important person to have.
Yeah, definitely. And again, and this is not a DCEU thing. Even as a kid, I was never a Superman fan. I just wasn't. He was never my favorite. But this version of Superman, and even in the black suit, I really dig it. I think it's awesome. The Snyder Cut made me care about all of these characters so much more. And I've always been a big Batman fan. And I've come to really like Wonder Woman too. But, you know, even speaking of Batman, we were talking about them taking Superman more seriously and taking Barry and Victor more seriously. The whole Batmobile chase scene when he was trying to lure away all the demon things from Barry so he could supercharge for Cyborg, that was awesome, man. The whole Batmobile thing was cool, and it goes to show you what, you know, just taking the characters seriously does. Because I mean, look at the theatrical cut. You had him making all the crappy jokes, and in this one, Batman held off an army of demon things.
They're
you
called
know what I mean?
They're called parademons.
Whatever.
There you go.
So yeah, it was just really cool. And then them all coming together with the Batmobile and Aquaman surfing from, like, you know what I mean, fighting the things in the air and surfing, that was really cool. That whole final battle scene with Steppenwolf was unfreaking believable. You know, when who was it that cut Steppenwolf's ear off? Was it Superman? It was Superman. Yeah, when he cut his ear off, I was thoroughly impressed with the fight scenes and how they handled all of that, how the CGI looked, how the visuals looked. Again, that slow motion to live action to slow motion, going back and forth. It allows you. I know you weren't as much of a fan of that, but the thing that I liked about it was that it allows you to see like all of the detail of what's happening, because you have the main focal point, like in the one shot when Diana was going over top of you and you're seeing her do a flip or whatever, but at the same time you have the Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman fighting in the background. It just, you get to see like a larger range of motion. And then I thought, I'm gonna be straight up, I didn't know that Barry could heal when he got shot in the side.
He has super speed, so obviously he has super healing.
Right, but I didn't know that I guess I didn't make the connection. I thought that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very cool.
I thought whenever he got shot, I was like, well, damn, that plan's kaput. And then you know he ends up being able to self heal. And then when he did that whole thing, my golly, it made him one of my favorite characters in the movie. Seeing him use the Flash Force,
absolutely,
the Speed Force,
and I think that was the completion of his story arc, was him ultimately, you know, being the one to use
something that he's scared of.
Yeah, to use something when because he had to talk himself into it. He was like, come on, Barry, you got to heal, you got to do this right now, you just can't think about it, you just got to go. And it was like he was trying to like convince himself and talk himself into it. And for me, that was the payoff of his character. I really liked, and you've talked about this, I like that they didn't kill Darkseid off, because again, I don't know that we'll get a sequel. I know it's not DCEU canon, as Zack Snyder has said, but if we do get a sequel, we know where it's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We know where it's going. And then, of course, that ending shot when Superman pulls Batman up, which is cool because of their beef that they had before. And like, it's that final shot of the Justice League standing there. That was dope. Looked phenomenal. And then in the epilogue, like you were talking about, that whole apocalyptic dream sequence, you know, well, even before that, when Victor put the tape back together and he finally listened to what his dad had to say, showing Bruce and Diana and Alfred in what will be the Hall of Justice with the 6 chairs and the table. I would love to see how they do that in a sequel.
Yeah.
How they show the Hall of Justice and what that would look like. Bruce paying off Martha's farm, which was really, really cool. The Arkham Asylum scene, I was really happy to see an Arkham Asylum scene in there. I thought that was pretty cool.
And it was cool to see Lex Luthor and all of them come back. And I can tell how all of it's going to play out. Obviously, like the League of Doom is going to play a major role into the downfall of Superman, because like, I don't know, it's just being like, honestly, like Jesse Eisenberg's doing an all right job with Lex Luthor.
He's doing okay.
Yeah. And he has more of like a psychotic little feel to him. But I mean, it works for the atmosphere that is this movie.
Yeah.
And also seeing Deathstroke in this movie.
Yep.
Baller.
Yeah.
I want to see him act.
And I'm glad that they threw that in, that whole thing with Deathstroke. Again, can't talk.
You got this.
But honestly, I kind of felt like you felt like the apocalyptic dream sequence didn't really need to be in there. I kind of felt like the whole Lex Luthor thing didn't really need to be in there. I was kind of just like, whatever. I mean, it's cool. I know they're trying to lay the foundation for that, but I was just like, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, like that entire I don't know. The last 10 to 5 minutes of the movie just seemed to be like what could happen if you that was Zack Snyder's little thing. He was like, let me add all this stuff here just to show you what you're missing. That way you actually give me the universe.
Well, and of course he's trying to show that. I mean, obviously I think that is his vision, but I think, like you said, he's also trying to be like, hey fans, release the second Snyder Cut. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean, dude, what if they did it? What if they crowdfunded that shit?
That wouldn't be bad.
I mean, you have all these fan films. You have Dave McRae doing It's Me, Billy, which that trailer drops this Friday, by the way. You have Vincent DeSanti doing the Friday the 13th fan films. There's that new Batman fan film that just came out that's supposed to be baller. I haven't watched it yet, but it's supposed to be incredible. It's like 25 minutes long. You have these high quality Hollywood quality fan films that are coming out now, and they're being crowdfunded on Indiegogo. I mean, what's to say? I doubt this will ever happen. But if you open it up and you're like, hey, the studio is going to cover this much, and then we are going to try to crowdfund as much as we possibly can. If you want to see the sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League, give us $20. Because if everybody who campaigned so hard for this hashtag release the Snyder Cut thing gave $20, I guarantee you we would see a sequel.
Yeah.
I mean, these small 30-minute fan films are making 60,000, 120 grand on Indiegogo. I mean, could you imagine what something like this would make? Plus, if the studio could back the rest of it. I mean, that's why I don't understand the whole Warner Brothers thing with how they treat Zack Snyder. It's stupid because they're going to make money. And let's be real, that's what they care about. They want that money because it's a business. So I don't know why they won't just, I mean, and it's fine. Like, I know Marvel's a little bit different. Marvel, we have an established universe. It's established. It'd be weird to go back and do another Captain America franchise with a different actor and a different story and a different universe, because it'd be like, why? You already have this. This is established. But the Snyderverse is different. The DCEU is different. We already have multiple versions of Batman going on at the same time. We already have 2 different versions of Justice League. We have Joker. We have this new Suicide Squad film coming out, the Harley Quinn film. It would work for that a little bit more to have a theatrical DCEU and a new Snyderverse. You know what I mean? Do you think that could work?
I mean, yeah, it could. I don't see why they shouldn't. I mean, what? It used to be the DCU. Now it's called the DCEU, the extended universe. Like, they had to do that because there's so many movies out here that are just like,
because they're not all connected.
Yeah,
it's not like the MCU, and that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that. And honestly, I wasn't okay with it until this, but I'm really becoming okay with that thought. Real quick before we wrap up here, let's talk about that apocalyptic dream sequence. From what I gathered, Aquaman is dead. Amber Heard is taking his. I swear, if Amber Heard takes his place, I'm going to be pissed. I have a lot of Amber Heard opinions that I'm not even going to share right now. I'm a huge Johnny Depp guy, so
same.
I'm whatever. But Lois being the key again, that goes back to that. What is that? What's it called?
The what?
That storyline where the
Injustice.
Injustice. I don't know what I was going to say. But that goes back to that same storyline. I thought this design of Joker is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like the craziness of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker mixed with like the same gangsteriness of the Jack Nicholson Joker. I mean, it's like Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, and Jack Nicholson combined. It's like the perfect blend of all 3 of them together.
A lot of people are gonna owe Jared Leto an apology because he actually did a pretty bang up job in this one.
Yep, and I thought he was very cool. I thought the conversation between the Joker and Batman was amazing. When Batman was like, you better like watch the next words that are about to come out of your mouth because I'm about to smack him, like smack your lip if and even when Batman said, I've been dead inside for a long time, and the Joker saying like, well, who's going to give you a reach around if I'm gone? Like stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I love seeing the 2 of them interact in any movie, like whether it's the Nolan trilogy or whether it's the Tim Burton film. Like, just seeing the Batman and Joker interact is just like, it's always a treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And if they really do a new film and it's this apocalyptic, where Batman's trying to create these alternate realities to set things right, it would be dark. I think it would be a very rated R, very gritty, dirty, uncomfortable film. And I think it needs to be. I think that's where DC needs. And I've said this so many times, that was the problem with the theatrical cut of Justice League, is it tried to be Marvel. And I know Joss Whedon was coming off of Age of Ultron, so he was in Marvel fever, and he was trying to have that same vibe, but DC shouldn't have that same vibe. That's why Joker was so successful.
Because it didn't go along with anything.
It was dark as hell, and it was like, I mean, we saw Joker together. There were a few times in that movie that we were both like, oh, like they went there, and I feel like DC needs to go there.
What if Flashpoint is going to talk about all of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because I mean awesome. they said Flashpoint isn't going to be like a direct copy of the comic book.
Yeah,
well, I mean, who knows?
They can do it. They can make. I mean, we already know that Michael Keaton is going to be in the Flash film.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. That's
I completely forgot. Like literally, after seeing this movie, after seeing the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League, like it's like all these plans the DCU are making right now, like that's not necessary. Like you have it, you have the movie that can propel your universe to new heights, and yet you're still making all these other side things, which I'm sure they'll be good.
And that's where Warner Brothers is. I'm sorry, I'm not a Warner Brothers hater, but that's so stupid. You have such a good movie on your hands and a good story, and they could do it. You know, they could do it. They could take that Flash movie and make it about opening these alternate realities, and then even at the end of that movie, you have a cameo where the Joker and Lex Luthor and whoever you bring in to do this makes that plan. And you could make a second Justice League film and do it the same way you did it with this one. Put it on HBO Max, make it 4 hours, make it 5 hours. Who cares? You know what I mean? You could do it, but they won't, because it's not the DCEU canon. And that's stupid to me.
Hopefully they'll catch up. I think with this movie coming out, I think it'll be a real eye opener for Warner Bros. I hope so. I think this one will like shift the focus on what the DCEU is going to want to do, and we can all just hope so. If not, we'll just keep throwing memes and hashtags at them until they listen. That's all I hope
so. And then when Batman was talking about Harley Quinn dying, did Batman kill Harley Quinn?
Yeah.
You think?
I think so.
Or is that confirmed?
I don't think Batman killed her. I think she was just gonna like die on her own. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it's like that Dark Knight thing. He says, I'm not gonna kill you, but doesn't mean I have to save you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those.
And you know, even when he was talking about Harley Quinn having beef with the Joker, which is different because she's all like, "Oh, Mr. J," like so like enamored with him. When Batman said, "And make no like, you know, when I kill you, and make no mistakes, I will fucking kill you," I was like, "Whoa, we're going there. Like this is legit. We're doing this now. This is rated R, and this is kind of wild." I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a cool sequence. It was one of my favorite sequences of the film.
It is, and it really sets the tone for what could be.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you wanted to bring up real briefly the Martian Manhunter scene at the end with that beautiful final shot of Bruce walking out. You have the forest and Gotham in the background, and the asylum. I believe that was the asylum off to the right. It was a gorgeous shot. But what do you think of the Martian Manhunter thing?
I like the fact that they brought him in. I like it, but I think he could have been introduced way better.
Probably
way better. And I don't like the fact that he called himself the Martian Manhunter. Like he has a name. I forgot what it was called. Like he has like a name for himself from Mars, but it would have been dope for him to call himself that, because that's his actual name. But he went with, "People call me Martian Manhunter." I'm like, that didn't sit.
Well, to be completely honest, I mean, and I told you this before we started recording, when it first showed him as Martha,
this man didn't know who he was.
It didn't like. Now looking back in hindsight, I'm like, oh, duh. Like, okay, yeah, that was the Martian Manhunter. But there was nothing to set him up. There was no like Easter eggs of like, hey, we're gonna get Martian Manhunter in this movie. It was just random, and when that happened, I was like,
he thought there were Skrulls in this movie.
They're gonna do the Marvel versus DC, the DC thing, Avengers versus Justice League. No, but it didn't even dawn on me of like who it was. But overall, man, and then of course at the end when it said for autumn, going back to Zack Snyder's daughter, man, and Hallelujah playing, which I believe I remember seeing was her favorite song. Overall, fantastic. It completely changed my outlook on the DC universe. It made me care so much more about characters that I didn't really care about to begin with. I mean, I cared about them, but I wasn't invested, and now I feel invested. I want more, and that's the other one of the bigger compliments I can give it, is that it left me wanting more. You know, with the theatrical cut, I was just like, okay. I mean, I've seen it once. I really don't care if they ever do a sequel to it, but this, I want to see a sequel to this movie. So what's your honest rating of Zack Snyder's Justice League?
I would give it like an 8 or 8.5, I would say. Yeah. Because obviously I had some strong opinions on why I didn't like the movie. So I would give it about an 8.5, but because it was still a stellar, one of the best DCEU movies.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, man, I can't believe that I'm saying it, but I'm giving it a 10. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It really is. And I know we talked about that first act was slow, and there were things that I didn't like about it. Obviously, there's things you're going to dislike about any movie, but I would put it on the same playing field as Endgame or Infinity War, and both of them are 10s. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It surprised me. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. So it's a win for superhero fans. It's a win for Zack Snyder. And it's ultimately a win for his daughter. You know, absolutely. I think he definitely honored her in that. So guys, tell us, what did you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? This has been episode number 14. Please leave us a comment if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple or Google or wherever you listen to podcasts, please be sure to tweet at us at We Talk the Movies and let us know what you thought of the Snyder Cut. New episodes drop on Monday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We release new videos on Wednesdays and Fridays on YouTube, and we'll have some additional content coming your way real soon. So we hope everything is really good in your world. Congratulations to Zack Snyder again, and everybody who made this Snyder Cut happen. We will talk to you all soon. Peace.